You're watching this footage right now because we need answers. 3 days ago, we began our investigation of St. Mary's Hospital. Abandoned since 1997, what we discovered there defies explanation. Before I show you the rest of our footage, you need to see this security footage was given to us by the night watchman after we completed our investigation. Look at the timestamp, 8:47 p.m. Now look at who's walking down this corridor. That's me. But here's the problem. Our team didn't arrive at the hospital until 9:30 p.m. How was I captured on the hospital's security system nearly an hour before I physically entered the building? Watch closely what happens next. There, behind me, do you see that shadow moving? I never felt anyone behind me during our entire investigation. But the most disturbing part comes next. Listen carefully. Patient returning to room 217. This hospital hasn't had patients in over 25 years. When we asked the security guard about this footage, he went pale. He claimed the monitoring system hadn't worked since 2010, but somehow it captured me walking through a hallway I'd never been in before I even arrived. What we experienced over the next 6 hours inside St. Mary's Hospital has left 3 members of our team unable to sleep. Something followed us home, and I believe it's watching us right now. St. Mary's Hospital opened in 1932 as a state-of-the-art psychiatric facility. For 60 years, it operated without incident until January 17, 1992, when 17 patients and 4 staff members vanished overnight. The official investigation was abruptly terminated 3 weeks later. These newspaper clippings document the strange occurrences leading up to the mass disappearance. Multiple patients reported seeing the same figure standing at the foot of their bed. Staff members complained of equipment turning on by itself. The hospital was finally shut down in 1997 after 3 more unexplained deaths. As our team approached the building at 9:30 p.m., our equipment began malfunctioning in specific patterns. Our MF readers spiked to levels we've never recorded before, then dropped to 0, then spiked again, a perfect rhythm like a heartbeat. We entered through the emergency room doors, which were strangely unlocked despite the property being condemned. The moment we stepped inside, temperatures dropped by 15 degrees. Then at 2:15 in our footage, listen carefully to what our audio equipment picked up. Welcome back. Dr. None of us heard this while we were there. It only appeared during review. Also, watch the second floor windows carefully as we enter. Something moves from window to window, tracking our movement, but we were the only people on the property. The night watchman confirmed he never enters the building after dark. The hospital's layout is disorienting. Hallways that should connect according to blueprints instead lead to dead ends. It's as if the building's internal structure shifts and changes. We were about to discover why. Our initial sweep led us to the administrative wing on the first floor. In the record room, we discovered something impossible. Patient intake forms with admission dates from 2003, 2007, and as recent as 2019. Remember, this facility closed permanently in 1997. These documents shouldn't exist. As we examined these records, all 3 of our cameras captured the same phenomenon simultaneously. Watch this hallway outside the record room door. There, that shadow moving across the corridor. When analyzed frame by frame, you can see it has a distinct human shape but completely lacks facial features. It appears to be roughly 7 feet tall and moves in a gliding motion without walking. More disturbing is what happened at timestamp 4:27. Focus on the medicine cabinet against the far wall. Something moves behind it, shifting its position by approximately 3 inches. We've enhanced and slowed this footage. The cabinet weighs over 200 pounds and is bolted to the wall. There is no explanation for this movement. While reviewing these records, we began hearing footsteps approaching down the hallway. All team members were accounted for in this room. The footsteps grew louder with a distinct dragging quality as if someone were injured. Our EMF detector suddenly spiked to its maximum reading, specifically when pointed toward patient room 217, the same room mentioned in the security footage. Inside room 217, we found walls covered with the same repeated phrase written in what appears to be dried blood. They're coming through the thin places. Forensic testing later confirmed the substance is human blood, type AB negative, dating from approximately 1992, the same year as the disappearances. Temperature readings in this room registered 38 degrees Fahrenheit, despite the rest of the building maintaining 67 degrees. What was unique about this patient room? The answer came from what we discovered next. We managed to track down Sarah Mercer, a former night nurse who worked at St. Mary's from 1988 until its closure. What she told us changed our understanding of what we were dealing with. The basement level wasn't on any official hospital blueprint, she explained. Dr. Whitmore conducted what he called sleep therapy down there after midnight. Patients would report identical nightmares afterward, being watched by figures standing in corners. Some patients claimed they could still see these figures when they were awake. Sarah provided us with these staff logs documenting unexplained events throughout the psychiatric ward. Nurses reported hearing conversations in an empty room. Patient vital signs would synchronize regardless of their distance from each other. Most disturbing were these patient drawings, all created independently yet showing the same symbol, a circle with intersecting lines that, according to Sarah, matches an ancient symbol meant to open doorways. These photographs from the hospital's archive show the original staff from 1932. We've enhanced this group photo and discovered something chilling. In the background, visible in the window reflection, is a figure that doesn't match any person in the photograph. When digitally enhanced, the figure appears to be looking directly at the camera from behind the photographer. Sarah confirmed that the 17 patients who vanished had all undergone Dr. Whitmore's experimental treatment. According to hospital records, all 17 patients had been admitted with different diagnoses but began reporting identical symptoms after treatment. The feeling of being followed by entities that could only be seen in reflective surfaces. The hospital administration allegedly destroyed most records relating to these experiments, but we found this document in the record room showing authorization for exploration of consciousness thresholds signed by Dr. Whitmore. The most disturbing detail, the doctor himself vanished the same night as the patients, but security footage reportedly showed him leaving the hospital 2 days later, despite guards insisting no one had exited the building. As we moved to the surgical wing on the second floor, our equipment began to malfunction in ways we've never experienced before. Brand new batteries drained to zero in seconds. Our cameras would turn off and back on without anyone touching them. The surgical wing was where Dr. Whitmore reportedly performed his most controversial procedures. This was also where 3 staff members were found dead in 1995, with no apparent cause of death. As we set up our equipment, the temperature suddenly plummeted from 67 degrees to 37 degrees in less than 10 seconds. Our thermal cameras show this rapid temperature change threading across the room like a wave. What's most disturbing is what happened to our static camera in the main operating theater. We left it recording while we investigated adjacent rooms. When we returned 15 minutes later, the camera had moved position, turned approximately 40 degrees to the left. No one had entered that room. We've analyzed this footage frame by frame. Watch carefully as the camera slowly moves on its own, swiveling to face a different corner of the room where nothing is visible to the naked eye. But when we enhance the image as the contrast, you can see what appears to be a figure standing perfectly still in that corner. At timestamp 8:45, listen with headphones to what our audio equipment picked up. They're in the walls. They're always in the walls. This voice matches no team member and contains frequencies outside the normal human vocal range. Even more concerning is this moment when we zoom in on the doorway behind our investigator mic. There's a face, just barely visible, staring directly into the camera. We have no explanation for this apparition, which vanishes in the next frame. We decided to conduct an EVP session in the hospital morgue, the place where the bodies of the 3 staff members were processed before their unexplained deaths. What we captured here exceeds anything in our previous investigations. We set up 4 separate recording devices and asked a series of questions directed at any entities present. Initially, there was no response, But when we asked why were patients brought to the basement, something remarkable happened. Listen to this audio. To make us stronger, to let us through, this voice was captured on all 4 devices simultaneously, yet none of us heard it in real time. Audio analysis shows the voice contains frequencies between 2024 Kz, well above what human vocal cords can produce. The most compelling physical evidence occurred moments later. The morgue contains 6 body drawers that have been welded shut since the hospital's closure. Oh shit. During our EVP session, drawer number 4 suddenly opened by itself with enough force to make a loud bang. You can see our genuine reactions of shock and fear. No one was standing near the drawer. The temperature in the morgue dropped to 29 degrees at that exact moment. What makes this incident particularly significant is that drawer 4 was reportedly where the body of Dr. Whitmore's last patient was temporarily stored before disappearing from the morgue entirely in 1992. No records exist of where this body was transferred. Our team member Jessica then reported feeling a cold hand touch her shoulder. Though invisible to us, our thermal camera captured a distinct cold handprint forming on her jacket. When we asked, "What do you want from us?" we conducted a flashlight communication session, where the flashlight turned on and off in direct response to our questions. The pattern was too consistent to be coincidental. When asked if something followed Dr. Whitmore from the other side, the light flashed rapidly before permanently failing. We moved to the children's psychiatric ward on the 3rd floor, which had a completely different energy than the rest of the building. While the lower floors felt oppressive and threatening, this area felt sad, almost mournful. According to hospital records, this wing housed children with severe psychological trauma, many of whom were subjected to experimental treatments in the 1980s. As soon as we entered, our audio equipment captured what sounds like children playing and laughing, though this floor has been empty for decades. The sounds didn't behave like normal audio would in this space. They seemed to follow our movement rather than coming from fixed positions. As we moved through the ward, something extraordinary happened. The dust-covered windows began showing small handprints appearing in real time, as if invisible children were pressing their hands against the glass while we filmed. These prints materialized directly in front of us with no one touching the windows. We've ruled out dust falling or air circulation patterns. Watch closely at timestamp 1417. We've marked an area where you can see what appears to be a small figure moving behind the glass. I recommend pausing the video and examining this frame carefully. The figure seems to be looking directly at the camera at you with unusual intensity. As we entered the former playroom, our camera equipment experienced severe distortion unlike any technical malfunction we've seen before. The image warped and stretched as if the fabric of space itself was being manipulated. During this distortion, a small ball on the floor rolled approximately 6 feet toward our investigator Tom, without any physical contact. When measured, the floor was perfectly level with no incline that could explain this movement. The audio captured during this sequence contains what sounds like a child whispering, "Play with me, please." They won't let us play anymore. The temperature readings in this area fluctuated wildly between 40 and 75 degrees in patterns that matched the timing of the whispers. After gathering this compelling evidence, we compared the hospital blueprints we obtained from city records with the actual layout we experienced. The discrepancies are significant. The official blueprints show 3 floors with a standard layout, but our exploration revealed additional rooms not documented on any official record. Most notably, corridors on the 1st floor led to a sealed area that should have connected to the east wing, but instead opened into what appeared to be a research laboratory not included in any hospital documentation. We consulted audio specialist Dr. Rebecca Harmon to analyze the EVP we captured throughout the building. Her analysis revealed something unprecedented. The voices contain multiple frequency layers, suggesting several entities speaking in perfect unison. Dr. Harmon stated she's never encountered this phenomenon in 20 years of paranormal audio analysis. These voices display harmonic patterns impossible to produce even with sophisticated audio equipment, she explained. The synchronization is perfect down to the millisecond. We mapped the temperature anomalies throughout the building and discovered they follow a specific geometric pattern, forming what appears to be a symbol when plotted on the hospital layout. The coldest points precisely align with rooms where patients reportedly died or disappeared. For 30 seconds at timestamp 16:45, all of our equipment registered increasing levels of electromagnetic activity that built to a crescendo before suddenly stopping. During this time, the air grew dense, making it difficult to breathe. Listen carefully to the background audio during this sequence. Multiple voices can be heard whispering simultaneously, creating an unsettling chorus effect that grows louder until abruptly cutting off. What's your theory about what happened in this hospital? The evidence suggests multiple entities are present, but there appears to be something more powerful controlling them. We discovered patient records referring to something called the Director, an entity that patients claimed would stand in doorways and observe Dr. Whitmore's experiments. At this point in our investigation, our photographer Alex became visibly distressed and refused to continue to the basement level with the rest of the team. He claimed to have seen something following us throughout the building, something the cameras weren't fully capturing. We decided he should remain in the main lobby while we continued our exploration. What happened to him while alone changed the entire direction of our investigation. Alex set up a camera to document his experience and captured something extraordinary. I was checking my equipment when I felt something cold touch my shoulder, he later told us. When I turned around, I saw a complete figure, a man in what looked like a doctor's coat, standing about 5 feet away. He was there for a good 3 seconds before disappearing. The fear in Alex's eyes and voice as he describes this encounter is unmistakably genuine. More importantly, his camera was recording during this encounter. We've analyzed this footage extensively. When we enhance the brightness and contrast, you can clearly see a tall figure matching Alex's description. What's unusual about this apparition is how it affects the digital recording. Notice how the pixels around the figure distort and blur, almost as if the entity exists partially in another spectrum of light. Our thermal camera provides even more compelling evidence. It shows a distinct human-shaped cold spot, approximately 20 degrees colder than the surrounding air, moving deliberately toward Alex before disappearing. The movement isn't random. It's purposeful, as if the entity was examining it. What makes this encounter particularly significant is that Alex had no knowledge of Dr. Whitmore's appearance, yet his description perfectly matches photographs we later discovered in the hospital record. The figure appears to follow Alex throughout his time alone, visible in reflective surfaces but rarely directly on camera. At one point, Alex's camera captures the entity standing directly behind him, visible only in the reflection of a window, watching him with unnerving stillness. With this new evidence, we finally decided to access the restricted sub-basement level where hospital records indicated Dr. Whitmore conducted his special procedure. We located a service elevator hidden behind a false wall in the maintenance area, an access point not shown on any official blueprint. The elevator only had 2 buttons, M for main floor and SB for sub-base. As we descended, all of our equipment malfunctioned simultaneously. Batteries drained, lights flickered, and our communication devices failed completely. The elevator stopped with a violent jolt, and the doors opened to reveal a long, sterile corridor that looked remarkably well preserved compared to the decaying floors above. The air felt heavy and electrically charged, making breathing difficult and causing a metallic taste in our mouths. As we reached what appeared to be the central chamber, a heavy metal door slammed shut behind us with enough force to shake the walls. None of us were near the door, and there was no draft that could explain this movement. What happened next defies explanation and was captured on all our remaining functioning cameras. The temperature plummeted to 19 degrees Fahrenheit. Objects, medical instruments, papers, and chairs began moving on their own, some floating several feet off the ground before crashing down. Shadows began forming on the walls, not cast by our team, but appearing to take humanoid shapes before dissolving and reforming. Our audio equipment captured multiple EVP overlapping to create what sounds like dozens of voices screaming simultaneously. Then we saw it, a full manifestation at the end of the corridor. Unlike the shadowy figures we'd encountered previously, this apparition was solid and detailed. A tall man in a doctor's coat with unnaturally pale skin. Most disturbing was its movement. It didn't walk, but rather slid toward us with impossible speed, covering 20 feet in less than a second. All 3 cameras captured this entity before it disappeared directly in front of us, leaving behind a blast of cold air that knocked 2 team members to the ground. After analyzing all the evidence we gathered at St. Mary's Hospital, we've discovered a disturbing pattern that connects everything we experience. The hospital's unusual phenomena don't occur randomly throughout the building, but manifest at specific points where the corridors and rooms create perfect hexagonal intersections when viewed from above. Historical records we've obtained reveal that the building was designed by Alexander Crowley, an architect who believed certain geometric patterns could weaken barriers between dimensions. His designs appear in several institutions built in the early 1930s, all of which have reported similar unexplained phenomena. The symbols we found carved into walls and drawn by patients match exactly with Crowley's personal journals, which describe methods to create doorways for entities seeking passage. We discovered that Dr. Whitmore wasn't simply a psychiatrist. He was Crowley's grandson who continued his grandfather's work using patients as subjects. The most disturbing revelation came when we researched previous paranormal investigations of St. Mary's. Every team before us experienced identical phenomena in the same sequence, the same EVP, the same apparitions, in the same locations. This suggests something is using human curiosity as a mechanism to strengthen its connection to our world. Each investigation appears to provide it with more energy or influence. At timestamp 2537, you can see the hexagonal symbol appears in our footage superimposed over the main entrance, though it wasn't visible to us during filming. This symbol appeared in every piece of footage we shot, becoming progressively more defined as our investigation continued. The most compelling theory is that St. Mary's Hospital wasn't built to heal patients, but to serve as a conduit, a doorway that Dr. Whitmore was attempting to open using human subjects to amplify whatever energy the entities needed to cross over. In the 2 weeks following our investigation at St. Mary's Hospital, each team member has experienced unexplained phenomena in their homes. Objects moving without explanation, electronics turning on and off by themselves, strange sounds consistently occurring at 3:17 a.m., the exact time our cameras captured the full apparition in the sub-basement. Most disturbing is this image from our investigator James' home security camera taken 3 nights after our return. The figure matches exactly what we encountered in the hospital basement, suggesting that whatever resides in St. Mary's Hospital can attach itself to investigators and follow them home. Our audio equipment continues to pick up even though it's been thoroughly cleaned and reset. These messages consistently reference opening the door wider and preparing for their arrival. Phenomena appear to be intensifying rather than diminishing with time. Before this video ends, I want to draw your attention to something we only discovered during our final review of the footage. Look closely at the hospital windows at timestamp 29:15. For approximately 3 frames, each window shows a face watching, different entities simultaneously observing our departure from the building. This confirms our theory that multiple entities exist within Mary's, all seemingly controlled by a central intelligence. Next week, we're returning to St. Mary's Hospital with paranormal specialists and protective measures to attempt direct communication with whatever we've encountered. We've also consulted with former patients who survived Dr. Whitmore's experiments to understand what we're facing. What they've told us about the director has forced us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the nature of reality and what might exist beyond it. Some viewers of our previous investigations have reported experiencing unusual phenomena after watching, particularly shadows seen in peripheral vision and electronic disturbances. If you've experienced anything unusual after watching this video, Please share your experiences in the comments below. The pattern suggests that knowledge of these entities alone might be enough to create a connection.